Well, hello and welcome to the 50th edition of Web Zurich. It's very great to be back. We wanted to come back as a in-person meetup, but the current situation doesn't really allow us to do that. And I think that's okay. That's the reality that we have to live with. And it actually gives us an opportunity to embrace the opportunity that is given by online meetups. We today have international speakers again, which is super awesome. I have already seen in the chat that we have international audiences as well. It's so good to have you back, Bumsu. You have been in the in-person meetups, but it's so cool that you're also staying around for the online meetups. And it's 1:46 a.m. at your location. That's amazing. Like, wow, that's really, really awesome. As I said, I'm super excited to have you all here. I hope that we are having a good time today, as well as the last couple of editions that were online. I also do hope that we do get to have in-person events soon as well, because it's always kind of nice to see all your happy faces in person too. Super cool that a few people have already joined the chat. I would definitely like to invite you all to join the chat. Say hi, say where you're from, what you're doing. Are you a designer, a developer, an SEO? What is your background? Are you here for the first time? Have you been here before? Yeah, just let us know what you think. If you're interested in the local Zurich community, you can also join us via Slack or join the meetup group. So if you go to webzurich.ch, then you will have a bunch of links on the website where you can join the local communities as well. If you're non-local, feel free to join the Slack. You might not get as much value out of it, but we are definitely a happy, friendly bunch. If you want to talk to like-minded people, that's a great place to go. And yeah, developers have nighttime preferences, so we are trying not to do this too early, but we're also trying not to do this too late. These meetups are monthly. If you're here for the first time, definitely check out our website and check out what other videos we have from previous editions. They're in a different YouTube channel, so you won't find them here on the channel. But with this stream today, we're starting to switch videos over to this channel as well. Super cool to see where people are from, to see what people are doing, how people ended up here. I'm really, really looking forward to tonight's meetup. And yeah, I see that we currently have 7 people in the stream. I haven't seen as many people in the chat. If you feel like saying hi, definitely do that in the chat below. And yeah, then we will basically wait a little longer, get ready, make sure that everyone's settling in, and then at 7 p.m. we'll start with the talks. That's all I have for now, but please definitely head to the chat, say hi, chat with us, talk to the others. Also, after this meetup, once we are wrapping up the talks, there will be an opportunity to join a Jitsi instance and have a chat with other people. It's normally a small group of folks all interested in all things web, so it's definitely worthwhile hanging around and checking that out. The link you'll find later on. And yeah, we'll start the meetup soon, and looking forward to it. All right. I think it is time to slowly but surely get going. It is still 9 minutes until the first talk starts, but I think now is a good opportunity to introduce our sponsors and do the housekeeping. Let's take a look at what we got here. But first, I need to actually get into the right window. Here we go. So today, July 2020 is the 50th or marks the 50th edition of Web Zurich, which means we have been doing this a little over 4 years. I'm ridiculously excited about this because I just can't believe that we that we grew into what we grew into. We are more than 2,000 people in the Meetup community. I don't even know how many Slack members we have. There's active discussions in Slack evolving. And a little over 4 years when I started this, I was basically just a random developer from the Zurich community who was a little sad that the previous meetups have stopped happening. These meetups have been quite cool. There has been a lot of work being put into them by local organizers who could not keep doing them. And I have learned a lot from the speakers at this meetup. I have made lots of connections at this meetup, and I was missing it. And there were no local communities around. And I thought, yeah, but who am I to get going and to kick this off and actually make this happen? I'm just like a random dude. I'm nothing special. That is true, but that doesn't mean that you can't make a big change in the environment that you're part of or in the community that you're part of. So I decided I'll just tweet out at people if they are interested in getting a meetup thing going. And no, hold on. Actually, I started with the Slack. I set up a Slack called Web Zurich, and then tweeted at a few people that I knew from the local community if they want to join. And then within a couple of hours, a few hundred people has joined. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is amazing. And actual conversations were happening. And I said, would anyone here be interested in running a meetup as well? Because I felt like maybe it's just me. Maybe there isn't anything interesting that other people want to collaborate with or do in this forum in terms of a meetup. Maybe people just don't like it anymore. Maybe meetups are over. Meetups might be so last year or something. I don't know. And I felt really insecure about this, but I asked, and a lot of people said yeah, that would be interesting. So I just picked a date and a place, and I think 20-ish people joined, and everyone had ideas, and I wanted this to be a thing from the community for the community. So again, I said, okay, look, we'll just I don't know, everyone has any ideas how they want this to be, and everyone had ideas, and a few of these ideas obviously clashed, and I said, just make it happen. I think this is a great platform for all these things. Just make it happen. Not everyone did make their ideas happen, but I think that's fine. It's cool to come up with ideas. It's not necessarily easy to make them happen as well. But more and more, it started to form and become a cohesive community effort. And we're yeah, we want to have meetups, and we should do them regularly, and we should do certain other things. And I have traveled the world at this point to different conferences and met local communities wherever I went, because I kind of love this community thought and this community principle of just people with the same interests getting together and talking about stuff and doing stuff together. And I said, okay, so I can do monthly. I think that's what we can do. So we started with monthly meetups, and I learned from other communities that those who were most sustainable had a neutral home. And I know that has been a challenge beforehand, finding a location. So I underwent the challenge of finding us a location that we could go to. At the beginning, we were in a restaurant that had additional workshop rooms above the restaurant. Then we moved a little here and there, and then we find the permanent home at Impact Hub, who have been with us for most of the 4 years and have helped us make this happen. And it has just been amazing, and I'm super grateful, and I could never have imagined this to happen. But also, I want to say two things. The first thing is, I couldn't have done it without this amazing team of volunteers. So yes, I might have been the stupid person who set up the Slack and set up this meetup group. And that's the reason why you are here now and listen to me reminiscing of the last 4 years and having a little tear roll down my cheek probably at some point. But it wouldn't exist to this day without the amazing people from the community who stepped forward. No incentives given. I had no money to give them. I had no security to give them in terms of, yeah, this could become a thing. This might end next month. I don't know. And they just stepped forward proactively and said, like, Martin, how can I help you? And every single one of them, and I'll show them in a moment on the slide, every single one of them, and a few others who have been here previously and have now moved on to other endeavors, every single one of them has made sure that this can continue to happen and has supported the community. And everything that we've built together, we couldn't have done without each of these people. And yeah, here we are, number 50. I hope that this is just the beginning of even more meetups. And we have done workshops, and we will continue to do workshops. We've done these online meetups now for a while. We will do in-person events. We hope that we can get our barbecue next month maybe going as well. Every summer we have a summer barbecue. We hope that we can do the Christmas special as every year so far. And I'm really looking forward to see you all again in person, but I'm also really, really thrilled about the opportunities for everyone who's joining us from other places in the world. And again, go into the chat, let us know, go into the comments, let us know where you're from. And hi, Daniel, hi, Mirko, hi, Bumsu, hi everyone who's joining us, hi, Lloyd. And I know that there are more people watching us and who are not in the chat, but I hope that you're also finding your way into the chat and saying hi to us as well. It is just amazing. I'm really, really excited. Now, housekeeping, as I said, we have a hashtag. If you want to tweet about this event, use the hashtag WebZurich. No E in there, no U either. What is WebZurich? If you have never been to our meetups, we are an open community for everyone who builds the web. And that's pretty much everyone who's involved in creating things on the web. That's designers, user experience experts, developers, accessibility experts, content writers, marketing folks, SEO experts, content strategists, e-commerce experts, people building web VR or web XR experiences, people making browsers. Doesn't matter, as long as you are creating part of the web, you're definitely at home with us. And hi, Norwal Power Systems, nice to meet you as well. And if you are building something on the web, you're definitely welcome here. If you haven't built something on the web but want to learn how to do that, that's the right place. There's lots of people who have done this before, so you can ask them about their experience and about like how to help you and how to get where you want to be. So it's amazing to exchange ideas and to learn from each other. And our principles is that everyone's welcome. We do have a code of conduct. Please make yourself familiar with it. And if you encounter any problems, just reach out to us, let us know, and we will happily help you. We do these things monthly. As I said, this is the 50th edition. The next one will be in August, 21st of August. And it's about getting together, having fun, learning something new, trying things out, talking about stuff, life, whatever, really. And to do that, we mostly speak English, but you can hypothetically also, obviously, if you see someone else who speaks the same language or one of the same languages as you can approach them in that language, but it's definitely easier to talk English so that everyone can participate in the conversation. And this is not just for you to sit here and watch, especially when we're doing online meetups. You can join us from anywhere in the world. The talk slots are 15 minutes. It's a relatively short slot. We are really friendly. We help you prepare your own talk. And without people stepping forward and saying like, hi, I would like to talk about something, this meetup wouldn't exist. So definitely feel free to contribute and become an active participant in the meetup. It's not just like for watching YouTube videos. It is also for you to create content and share ideas with others. Normally, when we do things in person, when we have the actual in-person meetups, we do that at Impact Hub. But that's today not really the case. If you want to hang out with us, we have a website. We have a Slack community with lots of interesting channels. If you're looking for teammates, if you look for new challenges, that's one thing to do there. If you want to discuss random stuff, if you experience something, if you want to talk about new web platform features, all sorts of things are happening. If you want to meet like-minded people who use Vue, Angular, or React, everything is possible in WebZurich in the Slack. We also have a meetup group if you want to stay on top of when the next meetup is happening and if it's an in-person or online meetup or if it's a special edition or a workshop. We do announce these in meetup.com, so you can join us there if you would like. There's over 2,000 people in the community already. And if you use Twitter, please use the hashtag WebZurich to talk about WebZurich so that we can see what's going on Twitter. Now, as I said, we live from community participation. Every single of our 3 speakers has stepped forward proactively and said, like, hi, I would like to talk about a topic. You can do that too. You are not experienced, you're not a senior developer, who cares? No one cares, it's fine. You have an unique perspective on the topic that you are working with. So if you've just learned how to use a framework, if you've just built something silly, that's cool. Show it to us, tell us, share the story with us. So everyone can learn from you, trust me. The talks are only 15 minutes. There is no real Q&A. We do Q&A now in the chat, but you don't necessarily have to do that. If you don't want to do Q&A, that is perfectly fine. Submit the form on WebZurich.ch, and then you're in. This is the amazing team that makes it happen. I'm super, super grateful and happy that we have all of these lovely, lovely people who have been part of this journey and help make this all happen, basically. We do have a bunch of sponsors. We are always looking for sponsors as well. If you want to join us in terms of making sure that we continue to exist and can still do these things, then let us know. Speaking of sponsors, today's sponsors are Rockstar Recruiting, Graph CMS, and Valtech. Rockstar has a little video for you that I'll try to share with you. I'm not sure if I can do the sound part, but I'll try my best. I hope that if no sound comes through, then I'm sorry, and then I'll ask Rockstar to help us share the video elsewhere. I'll hold on. Give me a second. No, not the entire screen. I want to share this. I'm very sorry for that. I just realized that the audio does not come through. That is my personal screw up. I'm very, very sorry that does not work. I'll just say this. Rockstar is amazing, and they have a bunch of questions. We'll upload this video to YouTube, and then you get the opportunity to answer their questions and help them out. And I'm so sorry that does not work. Okay, I should have known that there will be audio problems, because audio is always the fun part. Ignoring that for a second, join us in the Slack community, join us in Meetup, leave comments here in the chat if you have any questions or any remarks. And after the meetup, there will be a Jitsi instance that you can join at webzh.dev/afterparty, and then you can chat with us and just hang out and have a good time after the meetup. Right. Last but not least, next meetup will be on the 21st of August, and I will not retell what the Rockstar video says, but basically, if you can recommend them a recruiter. So Rockstar is looking for recruiters. You can email cj@rockstar.jobs. And if this recruiter will be hired, you will get a 2,048 franc bonus as a referral bonus, which I think is pretty damn great. And I love that they picked 2,048, because that's just the geeky thing to do. Right. But now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Marion. Hello, Marion. Welcome to the Web Zurich meetup. And
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have you here. You are one of the co-organizers of the Women Tech Makers here in Zurich. You work at Hasura, and you have been doing a lot of stuff in open source. And I think everyone is kind of excited about open source. And I hope that you can share your insights with us today.
I hope so too. Thank you so much, Martin. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Is this working?
Yes.
Perfect.
There you
Okay,
go.
so before I start, I just want to say again, thank you. I'm very happy and honored to be part of this anniversary edition of Web Zurich. Thank you so much, Martin and Olga. I've been interacting with them regarding this specific talk. And also thank you again for all the amazing volunteers that make this Web Zurich meetup happen every month. So for me, I think this is already the third talk. And if you are a person who like always thinks, maybe I want to do a talk once, but I'm not sure, I can totally recommend submitting a talk for Web Zurich because it's a safe environment. It was even one of my first talks. So if in doubt, just submit the talk to the amazing team of Web Zurich. All right. So today I want to talk to you about how to manage an open source project. I mean, this is more like how we manage an open source project at Hasura, not like the only guide to doing it, but just like as one example. And before I start, I want to introduce myself. So I'm Marion. I live in Zurich. I'm a developer experience engineer at Hasura. What this means is I'm working on the Hasura documentation. I manage all the open source contributions that come in at Hasura and also growing them. And I'm organizing the Hasura community call. To the last two, like open source contributions and community call, I will say more in this talk. A fun fact about me is that I like riding dirt bikes. I only started 1 year ago, but it's really nice. It's a nice balance to the office work I'm doing otherwise. So let's see where this is going. Okay, so before I start, so that this makes a little bit of sense to you, I just want to tell you quickly something about Hasura. Very briefly, so Hasura is a GraphQL API, and it's open source. The core part of Hasura is open source. And just recently, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, we launched Hasura Cloud, which allows you to, you don't have to deploy Hasura on any other clouds, which you also can, but you can deploy it on Hasura itself. So if you want to find out more, there's enough information on our website. Okay, so let's dive into the open source stuff. At Hasura, we have three main technical components, which is the Hasura console. This is the UI where you can build your schema. Basically, you can add your tables and event triggers and all the business logic over the Hasura console. This is built with React and TypeScript. Then we have the Hasura server, which processes all the requests, which is written in Haskell. And finally, we have the Hasura CLI that is written in Go. So these are our main technologies. Then the other components are, of course, documentation and also community. Community involves mainly sample apps, also tutorials and boilerplates that are largely built by the team, but also by the community. Now, a little bit about the background of Hasura and open source. So the core GraphQL engine is open source and will forever be open source. There's also there will also be always efforts put into extending the GraphQL engine and adding new features to it. Regarding, of course, a lot of the work, I mean, most of the work is done by the team itself, but we also have a lot of contributors. About 20 pull requests per month. Some of them are first-time contributors, and we also have some contributors that contribute regularly. A lot of our contributions are around documentation, when somebody adds something or fixes typos and small things, but also sometimes guides in the documentation that are very helpful. Community, if somebody has built something with a new technology that we haven't covered in our sample apps, then sometimes we get pull requests for those. And the Hasura console, which is in React, because there are a lot of people who know React. Also, the CLI that is with Go, we have quite some contributions. The only challenge is like it's very hard to find contributors for Haskell. Not only contributors, but also like people who are into functional programming and know Haskell to do this as a job. So this is a little bit the challenge, but we've put some work into getting more contributions on Haskell, and I think we'll see a little bit more rise in these contributions as well. Our community, so we always get a lot of feedback from the community, and this will give us how do I say this? So this gives us shows us the direction that we will go. When we see what the community needs, we'll make sure that what pain points are the most for the community, that we can fix those things. And the way we learn about these is over GitHub and GitHub issues where we answer questions. And then, of course, if we see that one issue is coming up regularly, then this is something that we consider adding in the future. And the other thing is our Discord channel, which is a very lively and very friendly channel where the community mainly answers questions among themselves. So the team helps out whenever questions don't get answered, but mainly our community, they interact with each other, they share experiences. And I think this interaction is what I like a lot about working for an open source project, because it's about the interaction not only from the team to the user group, but also within the user groups themselves. And because we're open source and because we're interacting with the community a lot, we'll get all this feedback, and it helps us to fix things quickly and to also feel like what the community needs. Then something, this is one of my favorites. So we have a monthly community call at Hasura, which I'm organizing this. And every time we have people from the team showing upcoming features. If we have new workflows, we'll show them. And it's just like an opportunity to hang out with the community. It's on a Zoom call, and then there's a chat, and it's very engaged. So it's an opportunity for the users to find out like what are the upcoming features, because we show features that are not released yet, but that we're working on. And it's also an opportunity for potential open source contributors, because we show open issues that are easy to contribute to. For example, we also want to be very open for first-time contributors. So this is where we show what we have at the moment that is good for the open source community to help with. And my favorite is at the end of each community call, we have a community demo where someone from the community will show either a contribution they made for Hasura. Maybe they built a sample app. And for example, a few weeks ago, one community member, he showed a multiplayer game with authentication and like a very complex game that he built with Hasura. And he showcased this in our community call. So this is very cool. So either contributions or also just projects built with Hasura. Yeah, next week we have the next community call. I'm always looking forward to those because it makes me really happy when the community gets together, and we also get a lot of feedback from these calls. So we've been thinking, what can we do to be welcoming for contributors? And what we did is, in our GitHub repository, we went through the issues, and we continue doing this to label the issues as either good first issues and or help wanted. So for example, if one person wants to start contributing to open source, then maybe they are scared or a little bit uncertain. So it's nice to know it's nice to know what issues are easy to contribute. And good first issues in our case are issues that don't need a lot of context. You don't need to know the whole technical component to actually work on this issue. Maybe it's something that's a little bit separate and can be done by itself without understanding the whole thing. Then we are trying to be as clear as possible with instructions as how to set up the development environment. Of course, if somebody sets this up and something doesn't work, please let me know immediately, and I want to fix this. So we want to be very clear, and it should be easy to get started, because you want to work at the actual issue and not spend a lot of time setting everything up. Then what we've started doing a few months ago is a monthly digest where we just highlight issues that, first of all, we want to cover, and second of all, are good issues for the open source community to help with. This we will also show in the community call, as I mentioned before. Then something else we do is we have a contributor channel on our Discord server where people, if they want to, they can, for example, say, I want to work with Go and it's my first time contributing, and then we will recommend something to contribute, and we will also help with everything to get started. And of course, we have a code of conduct so that whoever contributes can feel that they are in a safe environment. So for Hasura, there are several ways you can contribute, and I think this is true for a lot of open source projects. So one of the things is, and this is maybe sometimes a little bit underrated, is creating an issue. For example, something is not working, and then people creating an issue is a great way of contributing, because it helps the team finding out what the pain points are, and also, of course, if there's a bug in the system somewhere. So we give a lot of value to this kind of contribution where we can learn a lot. Then another way is to actually work on an issue, which it's easy to get started. So you can choose the component, for example, Hasura CLI, if you want to work with Go, and then filter for good first issues. So this is another way to contribute a little bit more. It takes a little bit more time than creating an issue. But still we get quite a number of contributions, which I'm very happy about. Then what a lot of our community members do is, if they build something, for example, with a new technology, and they just build it to learn, and then sometimes they make a pull request to our repository where we have sample apps, and this is very helpful for others to learn, because they can just go there and get started, and they might have, if they have clear instructions, might have less issues of completing a sample app. Then this is something we get a lot during Hacktoberfest, is translations. So we have a README, a contributing guide, code of conduct, and we get a lot of contributions that translate these guides into other languages, which is very cool, because first of all, it's nice to see that Hasura is growing more internationally, but also I think if a person with a specific language gets started and they see other people from a similar background have contributed to this, it kind of creates a sense of community, which is very nice, I think. And also something that is maybe not always regarded as a open source contribution is answering questions, and I think this is a very important part. In our Discord channel and also on Stack Overflow, so many questions get answered by community members, and I think this is really amazing, because people are taking time out of their busy work schedule, helping others because probably they had the same issues or uncertainties, and now help others get to the solution more quickly. And this is like why I love my job, because every day I see people helping each other out, and it makes me really happy. Then if another way is to do a presentation. If somebody built something with Hasura, or they introduced Hasura at their community, they sometimes present at meetups or at conferences. And of course, we'll support them in this way too. I'll come to this later. Actually, I come to this right now. So whenever somebody wants to organize a meetup or a workshop, they can contact us anytime, and we will sponsor drinks, location. We will review slides, which is also, I think, a good opportunity. For example, if you're thinking about doing your first talk at the meetup or conference, and you get feedback, we can do how do you say, practice sessions, and we'll also, of course, also send swag for all the attendees at the meetups. And something that I really like is if a contributor make their first PR and it gets merged, then we'll send them some swag, so a t-shirt and some stickers, which is always very popular, as you might know, in the developer community. And finally, I just want to share a small example that we had a lot of contributions for. We have started to migrate our Hasura console from JavaScript to TypeScript. I think this started like 3 months ago, and a lot of the parts we migrated ourselves, but it's so much to migrate, and of course we also have to work on features. So we made an issue with a huge list of components that need migration, and it's amazing the number of 34 PRs we got. I think in 2 months, 22 of them are merged. Most of the others are in review, and it created like an amazing vibe. This was like such a popular way of contributing, because it enabled people to choose what they wanted to do. So some components were very small. So if people didn't have a lot of time, they just chose something small, but still they did an open source contribution, which I think feels good. And others did larger components. And I think one person made now 10 pull requests, 8 of which are already merged. So he has like started working on this, and it's been a lot of fun interacting with him and with all of the open source contributors. And yeah, I really love that it's one of my favorite things I'm doing at Hasura. Like, I get to interact with open source contributors every day, and yeah, I see what they want to do, and this is why it makes it easier for us to actually then pick the issues that are suitable and that we think people have fun working with. Yes, that's it. Always very short and compact talks at Web Zurich. I like it. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And otherwise, thank you so much again to all the organizers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marion. That was amazing. And as an open source maintainer and contributor myself, I know that a lot of work goes into open source that is barely visible. And I really like the idea of the like community demo. That's a really cool thing, so that you can like showcase the great work that is done by the community. And it's just awesome. I just really, really like how that goes. Also, for everyone in the audience, if any of you here is an open source contributor or is an open source maintainer, write in the comments what do you do, what projects are you working on, how do you like it. If you want to become a contributor and don't feel like you're ready, then why do you feel like that? Just write it in the comments. we are happy to discuss this or join the Jitsi afterwards and discuss this with us live. Thanks so much, Marion. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of the week and a fantastic weekend upcoming. Thanks so much for being here and joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Bye. So next up is our second talk of the night. And this one is particularly interesting because it's a topic that lots of developers are not aware of. And it's pretty cool if it's done right. And doing it right is not trivial. So I'm really looking forward to Paul joining us tonight here as well. Paul, where are you actually based? You're in the UK?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm about half hour, 45 minutes just outside London.
Oh, so, that's nice.
Nice.
How's the weather? How's life in the UK at this point?
The weather in the UK today is really nice. It's about 25 degrees. So it's a nice day today. We had rain most of the week. So
well, we have rain now.
For the weekend. That's the main thing. Yeah, so it's late. It's late in the UK now. We're at 6:30. So yeah, definitely time to
grab a drink and enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your weekend and taking time out of your. Basically, you would have a weekend already if you weren't here, and I'm super glad that you joined us and that you are talking about this topic. And if you want to share your screen, I'll happily let the stage be yours.
No.
And everyone, a warm round of applause for Paul Lovell talking about GTM, which is Google Tag Manager, and Schema, a match made in heaven. And with that, stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mike. So my name is Paul Lovell. I'm going to be talking to you about structured data and Google Tag Manager and how it is the perfect match. And the reason I say that is because the good thing about Tag Manager is it's not confined to a specific platform. So you can use it on WordPress, Magento, and custom CMSs as well. So it's a really good way that you can start to join this together. In this, when I get the slide right, in this presentation, I'm just going to be looking at product schema specifically, so that you can understand it from just one point of view without getting too complicated. So, as we know, if you go to the Google Developers Guidelines, it lets us know that there's only 3 types of structured data. That are 3 elements, should I say, that are required, which is name, image, review, aggregate review, or offer. Just 3 of those. 2 of them are definite requirements, which is name and image, and the other one could be a variation of any of the other 3. So why would we want to do that? And that's because we want to see a SERP feature like this. So essentially what we're able to do is we're able to send a signal through structured data that these are the reviews. So you can see here that John Lewis in the UK, they've got 4.7 review rating from 1.4K reviews. They're also sending their price information through, which is £449 sterling, and that it's in stock. Now, what this does to a user, it actually installs trust, because they can see all of this information before they've even decided if they want to click through to your website. So it's a really important metric that can help really increase your CTR, as we would call it. But there's other elements that you can add as well. So, I mean, realistically, you want to be looking at name, description, offer, which is your price, which can be a number of offers in there, review or aggregate review. Either of those would be fine. Obviously, getting your brand information in there as well to send that signal through, and the availability. But if you head over to schema.org, which I'm sure quite a few of you are quite familiar with, there's actually 48 different types of structured data that you can have within product. And some of them have then got nested more structured data in it. For example, here you can see brand, and it's actually got organization in there. So you can actually see that you've then got a whole additional set of structured data that you can nest within product itself. So for example, if you were selling a Samsung TV, with the brand would be Samsung. So you could actually put Samsung's organizational information in there to send much richer and much deeper information about the product and about your page in much more depth. So how to scale structured data in Google Tag Manager, and this is what I like to do. I mean, most sites are based around a template, so you've got to look at it from that perspective. The fact that you could have 7 templates, but you could have 500,000 pages. So you can see very easily how you're able to put this together. Now, obviously, Google has wrote about placing schema via GTM and how to use dynamic variables as well. If you head over to the link here, the developer.googles.com, generate structured data with JavaScript, you can see here they're actually using dynamic values here for name, recipe image, and recipe author. So there's a lot of documentation over there. The way that this is coded here, you'd be able to test it within the rich results testing tool, which is going to be Google's only supported one, unfortunately, soon at some point in the future. But if you still do want to take advantage of the structured data testing tool, then you can add this script function just before and just after. And as you can see, it's telling you that it's going to apply it into the head of the page in a JSON LD format. So then that way it's actually rendered on the page and you can see it within the structured data testing tool whilst it is still available. So let's get into some of the code. Now you can see on the left hand side, I've literally took this code straight from the developer's guideline and I've tweaked it slightly to show you what it would look like if you were pulling in dynamic variables from the page itself. Now, obviously, yes, you can use CSS selectors. You can also use IDs as well. This is where it gets a little bit complicated and things can break because, for example, you can see the product title there. I've set it up as an example of an H1 tag that's being pulled with a CSS selector. Now, that's fine if no one's going to go and change the design on the page. But if someone changes the design of that product title to, say, a H2, then it's going to break because effectively you're going to have no title there if there isn't another H1 on the page. Or if the H1 is not relevant, then you're going to be sending irrelevant information into your structured data. The other thing that you can do as well is you can actually pull, as you can see from the second variable, information from the head of the page. You can see there I've just done an example of the product description as being pulled from the meta description of the page. So you can actually pull information from the head itself. So it's not just what's on the page, it is from the head as well. So this example here, which shows you how you could go through and you could create structured data for a product with reviewed information. Now, whilst the tool is still around, this is what it would look like. It would look something like this when you go over to a structured data testing tool. It will show you if there's any errors, warnings, and if you click the preview tab, it will take you through to a small preview of what your page could look like with those features applied to it. And yeah, so when we get into the finer parts of it here, you can see here there's a couple of tools that I like to use for testing structured data. The first one is an Seo Info, and that's a Chrome extension. This one's particularly good because whilst you're working in GTM before you publish your container, what you can actually do is you can set it to preview mode. And with this plugin, it will actually show you what the structured data would look like rendered on the page. So you can actually fully test it without needing to take that code and put it in the structured data testing tool. You can actually test it in the browser whilst you're in preview mode. The other one I like is the structured data testing tool. That one there, you can click a button and it sends it straight to structured data testing tool as it is at the moment. Other than that, it does show you in a very detailed breakdown of what it would look like. Now, the thing that you do need to remember with this is, like I said, it is a fragile environment and you have got to handle it with care. Because the simple fact is if you are pulling from CSS selectors, essentially you're relying on the CSS of that element not changing. And obviously within the environment in this world now, things are always changing. So you do need to handle care. You can use IDs as well, which is great. And you can even use a data layer if you're very friendly or you're a developer yourself. So that's fine. But the way that I like to do it is I do rely on the CSS selectors. I do encourage people to set up a data layer for me if they've got the time. If not, I will do it with a CSS selector. Now, with that in mind, there's another tool that I like to use, which is Semrush, obviously. You can set up a weekly crawl. It goes through. They've got one specific part which is really good for monitoring this, which is the markup part of their crawler. And as you can see, it says schema.org 57%. So you're able to monitor it from there if it's something that you're not looking at too often. So if you do see those numbers decrease, then that way you know you've got an issue with some of your CSS selectors. So I hope that's been informative for you. And if you've got any questions, please do ask. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is one of these topics that I think is so important to discuss. And I very recently, I think like a month ago or something, was talking about this at Web Dev Live. And I'm still surprised when people are like, oh, you can do this with Google Tag Manager. And because structured data, you know this, structured data gives you a lot of additional power to your website and semantics to your website. yet it's not easy for everyone to implement it, right? You might have a CMS, you might not have access to all your code, you might not have a developer on your team who can help you get the JSON LD together. So I think this is a really powerful thing, and it's amazing to see this. And thanks so much for introducing this concept and the methodology basically to us.
No, it's great. I like playing around with Google Tag Manager in general. I started playing around with it a few years ago, and you can do stuff like you can apply no index tags, you can change elements of the pages. There's lots that you can do, but yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of information out there showing people how it's done. So,
what's the most creative use of Google Tag Manager that you've ever seen or done yourself?
I've done a fertility company in New York. I've done their structured data for them, and I was having to use a number of lookup tables because of the medical code information, because it couldn't be placed on a page because there were so many pages. They effectively went through like an Excel or Google sheet, and they pulled it all together for me, like hundreds of rows, one for each page, specifically saying what medical code is related to the item that they're talking about on the page, and then actually being able to pull it together using the lookup tables within Tag Manager as well. So that's probably the most complex one that I've done myself.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good, because we had like a table for the codes, and then the table for what the codes are about, and so on and so on. There's probably I think about 4 tables that are leveraging that medical page schema at a very high level of depth. So it's not just a very basic page of structured data. It's really got some depth to it. And I think the biggest set of schema that I applied via Tag Manager was for an event, and that was over 350 lines of code just on one event. Because I was pulling in obviously the sponsors, the speakers, all of their information, who they work for, same as who they know and who they know about and stuff like that. A lot of information, but it was fun. And then when you see them knock off, you see them grab the event featured element within SERPs away from like another big event company, it's really nice, and it's a bit fun and addictive, really.
Wow, that's awesome. And I love how that's another thing that not many people notice. It's not just like you have an article or an event on a page and then you drop in that event. It's a model of a graph, right? An event has sponsors, and these sponsors are organizations. These organizations have logos and so on and so forth. And you get to choose which part of the graph you want to model. And then if the other side implements structured data on their end, then the graph can be continued, basically. And that's really, really cool. And I think that's the power of the semantic web. So that's amazing. And you use Google Tag Manager for such a heavy-duty thing, and that's really cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a stable environment. And I did catch up with John Mueller at Brighton SEO about this, and that was when it was sort of like a little bit sort of like, yeah, should we or shouldn't we agree that it's the way to be done? But obviously Google's agreed that it is a way that is feasible to be done. Because, and the thing is, what you've got to remember is Google Tag Manager is also there to track your users. So it is a stable environment to a certain extent. I do have other tools that I use that monitor web pages that make sure that GTM is actually active on the page as well. So just to make sure that we're not just going to, like, the developer's not accidentally deleted the whole container itself. But yeah, as long as you've got a stable environment, then you shouldn't really have any problems. Obviously, the Tag Manager ecosystem is there for tracking, so it needs to be there on every page. It'd just be great if we could just join those pages together with structured data rather than having to have everything on one page. And I've been playing around with that sort of like that richer graph format as well of structured data, which is good fun as well.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. Awesome. Paul, thank you so much again for joining us. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend, and that the weather will be good on the weekend as well, so that you can enjoy the sunshine. We are not having sunshine in Zurich right now, but I hear that we'll have a sunny weekend, so I wish the same to you.
That's good, yeah. And thank you very much, Brian. Anytime.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks a lot, Paul. All right, and now we heard about doing open source work and managing open source projects, and we heard about how you can leverage structured data using Google Tag Manager. We have a last fantastic guest who literally I think it was yesterday, agreed to join us tonight, and that's Peter. Peter is doing
Hello.
something super awesome because he will do some live coding with us tonight. Peter, what do you want to live code with us now?
So today, first, there's a quick introduction about network. Network. How is it exactly called?
Network Information API?
Yes, Network Information API. I'm sorry, I just forgot.
No worries.
Network Information API is a very crucial part of Chrome because I will tell you a story that happened to me like 5 or even 6 years ago. So we drive in a car to visit our friends that are 2 hours from us, and let's say in first half an hour car was okay, but just in 30 minutes car was, there is a LED display like check engine, and car stopped. So our car stopped in the middle of nowhere, and we tried to restart to push that car, but nothing happens. So I pick up my phone and trying to get a road car assistance because that car is totally broken. But there's a incidentally issue later. I will explain. So I try. So I have a flagman phone, but that car is broke in the middle of nowhere, and there was, for example, 4G coverage, but since we're in the middle of nowhere, there are 2G and 3G, 3G with poor coverage and 2G with full coverage. So my phone is constantly switching between 2G and 3G, and I was just trying to get a phone to pick up my that number, call that guys, explain where I am, and when it happens. So this thing will talk like 2 or 3 minutes, but for me it took, for example, hour or hour and a half, because every site was full with images, full size videos and things like that. And this since I explained I have a flagman phone, but I was in middle of nowhere with poor coverage, so I became victim of that developers. And today I'm going to explain how you can fix this today with using of Network Information API that is built in, for example, in Chrome, in Firefox, in Opera, with many things. So I start to share a screen.
And with that, I'll give the stage to you as well. Have fun, enjoy.
Thank you. So first, I built a very simple HTML. This is Network Information API. So I made an event listener for change, for connection type of a navigator, and try to dump type, downlink, round trip time, downlink max, effective type, and save data. But this is very, very, and let's see. I will drop code here. So here you can see type is undefined. There is some kind of 4 megabytes, like 7 megabytes per second, 10 megabytes per second. This is good. Round trip time is 50 milliseconds. This is very good. Downlink maximum is undefined because Chrome in desktop doesn't support it. And Chrome defined that probably my effective type is 4G. But since I'm on desktop Chrome, this is a little bit not fair because I have a broadband internet with gigabyte Ethernet or things like that. So, but Chrome for desktop show me like 4G, and save data, I will talk more about save data later, is false. But let's see how this happen on real device. I have some kind of Android that is connected. So we will check that page.
Real quick, can you make the font a little larger, please?
That's I will, but just a second to not HTML. Okay, so we have a connection, but I don't have a connected that phone. So I will eject and connect it again. Yes, finally. So we have inspect element, and let's try it. nappy.html. What? Well, that works honestly because I can see it on my phone, but I can make an connection. Okay, I won't stop that. So in Chrome, we have a network condition, and we can control what Chrome to be. For example, right now is 4G, but if we push 3G, that screen is refreshed, and right now it's type my effective type of coverage is 3G. I can use slow 3G, and he suddenly change effective type to 2G, and that is perfect. But that's the one of problems, because we first must make connection to that server, and server to check our connection between 4G to 3G and 2G, so that server can see what kind of information to send to us. But some browsers, like my preferred Safari, for example, they doesn't support this, and Safari show some kind of error because type is undefined. So Safari doesn't support this, and if you try to use the Safari, don't, because only Chrome and Firefox support it. So how to make change this to work with us? So I start with very simple code okay, I will make a larger fonts for you. So we're trying to load of, for example, a style sheet, some kind of JavaScript, and some kind of image. So this works very well here in Web Zurich. I will type it. So this works fantastic and can drop everything about us, but unfortunately, we don't know what kind of coverage right now have a browser. But there is some kind of extension that is called client hints that can assist us to get more information about user browser. So how to get the client hints? First, client hints doesn't work, and to make them work, we must add some kind of headers like accept client hints, and we told the Chrome to report device memory, viewport white, save data, dot pair. This is the message of the screen, white, downlink, effective connection type, and round trip. So we save that, and we are going here, not here, we are going here in Web Zurich. We make inspect element, and in inspect element in network, we refresh that, and we can see that finally they are making a connection to css.css, gs.gs, and jpeg.jpeg, but suddenly Chrome is starting to drop up a connection type okay, let's forget that. For example, viewport white, round trip time, and many other things. So let's make this a little bit better, because, for example, right now we are building a backend that will get this connection type of downlink time or device memory, how to work with us. So we are getting some kind of HT access to work here, and we're making an HT access. So this works. And right now we're making a PHP to be executed on CSS file, on PHP, on JavaScript, on JPEGs. So here we will make also css.css, so that file doesn't return anymore 404. And today I wrote that very quick file. So this is very quick file that return that get effective connection type. And if effective connection type is 3G, he set the background color for whole body to be green. If connection type is 3G, will be orange. If it's 2G, will be red. And if it's undefined, for example, yeah, this is very important because, you know, Safari or Safari for iOS doesn't support it. We will make a background gray. So we wrote that file and we refreshed it. And suddenly you can see our background right now is green. That means that our connection is 3G. Let's make a little bit change in network condition and today make a fast 3G connection. So we refresh that and you can see background is changed because connection type is changed. And if we made a connection type slow with one refresh, right now that screen will become red because connection type right now is 2G. Let's test this in our Safari. So here is gray because Safari doesn't support connection type and can't help us. So right now, let's going further. Since you know how to get effective connection type, let's try the same with JavaScript. So we are going here and make a new file like javascript.javascript. It's empty. And that file will be, for example, return connection type to be JavaScript, also get effective connection type, and it's 4G. Let's write document write, you know, you shouldn't use this, for example, to be connection in 4G. If it's 3G to return hello world 3G, it's 2G, we'll write hello world 2G, and if it's in the find, for example, for Safari, just will wrote a hello world. So we save that. We're going here. We're going to be online and also refresh that. And suddenly you can see hello world 3G because JavaScript is start and PHP, you can see PHP is getting this effective connection type. And suddenly return to browser very different, a JavaScript that's return different kind of code. If we wrote a fast, if we select a fast 3G and refresh that screen, will be hello world 3G. If it's slow, that is a 2G. We'll wrote finally, it's a little bit slow. It's wrote a hello world 2G. So that is very good. Let's continue with that image. So image is, that is the code, and I will wrote it like jpeg.jpg. No, that editor doesn't allow editing of JPEG files, so will be PHP. So we'll make a code change. So so what is the change here? So we also get effective connection type. We create a very small image. We select a white color. And if effective connection type is 4G, we wrote in that image hello world 3G, also 3G, also 2G. And if there is nothing, we'll wrote just a hello world without anything. And that wrote a JPEG file or return to the browser. But since we can't do anything, we'll duplicate that file and rename to jpeg.jpg. So it's wrote here and we just reload and you can see hello world 3G in that image. I will talk about this a little bit later. So for example, we select a 3G. We can see a very, very different image. Right now it's 3G. And if we select a slow 3G, we can see, yes, it's slow. And right now it shows Hello World 2G. So that is fantastic. Let's go back in Safari and see. So they wrote Hello World only because Safari doesn't support this. So let's go back in a little bit different things. Why? How you can use this? Since we are making a connection to the site. Yes, here is the connection. So we make the connection to the site, and site returns some kind of HTML with accept client hints and client hints lifetime. So client hints lifetime explain that for this resource, for 1 day, you should use a client hints. If we didn't set client hints, that information never was sent to the server. So server doesn't know your device memory, your viewport wide, or save data, wide, downlink, effective connection type of things like that. They can be visible to the server only if the server wants in HTML return that to the client. But can we use this little bit further with using the save data? So save data is very important things because in Chrome for the Android, they have settings in the Chrome. I can't right now display my Android just for the save data. So right now I make explain the demonstration how to use that save data in reality. So we make a new file like file.php, and I make example like this one. So this is very simple document that embed one YouTube video and embed some kind of slide presentation from Google Drive. So file.php. So we make file.php. So you can see video, Schiller, Aurora, and presentation from Google Drive. But let's make things a little bit further. Since browser can save that is very important, by the way, I will explain later. Browser can save the client hints with save data even without server to return that he will use it. So we will get this, for example. Okay, let's start writing PHP code. So we return it. Second to see what is actual thing. My Android device can get an internet access. Yes, so this is called HTTP. So if browser send this means please send me some kind of lightweight document because I can't use for example, I'm low-end device or I have some kind of connectivity issues. So send me something that I can see, and we'll wrote like this, like yes, we will drop that user to the YouTube. Like this, and also we'll make a connection to, for example, to that document. Yes. So if save data is on, and this means send me a limited. This means send me a limited HTML. So I hope that code will work. So right now we're reloading that, and we have internal server error. Yes. Something is wrong here. PHP parse and line 90s. 1990 else. Yes. I found. And else there must be something like this. And yes. So okay, let this works. Yes. So right now I'm on desktop that doesn't say save data, and I can see Schiller, Aurora, and that presentation. But let's open and inspect element, and that is on remove devices. Yes. So web Zurich. Yes. Inspect. I hope that it works. Yes. Right now that's on low-end device, and we open file.php, and you can see there is a click here to YouTube and click here to Google Drive, because when we are calling this a Chrome, in request header make save data on. Just with this, Chrome is still okay. This is mobile Chrome on Android device. Chrome is telling to the server, please send me a limited HTML because I'm a low-end device. Right now, I'm going to open on connection settings in Android and disable this light mode, how it's explained, and it's okay. Light mode is right now disabled, and right now I'm reloading that page, and suddenly I start to get a very different HTML with embedded YouTube and that presentation from Google Drive. So that's the file. I'll drop it here. And so why this is very important for you? Because, for example, sometimes your customers, your visitors, and your users have a very good devices, but you're not sure that have a very good devices because they are flagmans and there are some kind of low ends. You don't know. And sometimes your users, even that have a flagship devices, they have a very poor a place with coverage. For example, they may Klingon Matterhorn or Weisshorn or things like that, and they may have a very good device but very poor coverage, and they, for example, may asking, for example, for some kind of assistance or things like that. So if user is selected light mode, that we save data, you don't need to push the whole data to them. For example, you can see that code is very nice and very simple, and we didn't make embedded things, so user can select where to click and what to do. And if that light mode isn't enabled, you can drop down here and YouTube video and that presentation. Here's another example. I love to use that version of Facebook that is a very, very, very limited, and this is a text-only version of Facebook. So if we see mobile.book.com, you can see that Facebook also make same. So they make a very different versions from Facebook, but MBasic is a text-only version, and even some kind of images didn't like aren't shown this. And honestly, if I'm on place with very poor coverage, I'm using this version of Facebook because it's a very good. For example, I can click here, I can make a comment like blah 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 or things like that, and I'm not punished because I have a very good device, but I'm on place with poor coverage. For example, if I'm on place with mobile, I can use that version of Facebook or even desktop version of Facebook. So how you can use this? For example, if a user is using a save data, you may not show him a video in backgrounds. You may not show him, for example, retina images. You may not show, for example, resource-heavy JavaScripts that will can make site very slower. You can save a very, very basic site with text-only information, for example, with what phone, with phone number, what we are, what we do, how you use it. I know that SEO will be freaked, for example, how Google tools will use it, since Googlebot right now is built on evergreen Google Chrome. Let's use, for example, mobile, for example, a mobile-friendly test, and let's get that Web Zurich test, and we open a mobile-friendly test. We drop this, and it's working. And let's use a PHP Insight test also. So yes. It's a little bit overloaded my computer. So let's go back in mobile friendly test. As you can see, Googlebot report that is running on 4G coverage, and you can see that background is in green. That means also is 4G coverage, but that image is very, very small, and unfortunately, even if we scale it up, we don't know what should be here. But since it's 4G and everywhere, probably it's also 4G. And if we are using PageSpeed Insight, that is also in green, and on desktop is also in green. So this explains that Googlebot is presenting themselves like 4G. But if we using that test, for example, for file, and we are making mobile-friendly test, for example, one more time, Googlebot will see a full version of our page with embedded video, embedded Google Drive slides. So you shouldn't hesitate about this. Probably there will be some kind of change soon, but as you can see, everything works and everything is perfect, and Googlebot can see a text-only version of our page. But since user is limited, that this probably shouldn't be issue for right now for Googlebot. So that is everything for now. If you have any kind of comment for this, don't hesitate to ask how to improve your page, and start to think how to make a smaller web pages, because right now users are, World Wide Web isn't anymore World Wide Web. It started to become a worldwide wait, because users wait, they click and wait, do something and wait. And what about if we start making a smaller website with less limited JavaScript, limited CSS, limited HTML, so user can visit that page and do something? Because sometimes, just like me with my car, we don't know what's going on, and if I start walking, for example, a few kilometers, I can get a 4G coverage. But sometimes we are limited in geographic space, and we can get what we are waiting for. And sometimes, for example, if we're browsing on 3G or 2G, users get alienated about your very slow website because they are extremely slow, and users are really freaked out about that. So thank you. If you have questions, drop it in the comments. I will pack that example in archive and we'll send it so everyone can start and learn about this, because it's just a few lines of code, but may have a very huge impact on your websites and your issues like there. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. And thanks for being so brave and A, stepping up very last minute for this meetup, B, doing live coding and live demos, and also live demos on an Android device. That's like amazing. Thank you so much. And I think we've seen a few really good remarks in the chat as well, in the comments. Thank you very much for everyone who participated in the chat. And I think like the Network Information API and the client hints are things that are so important these days and are so much underutilized, even though they are not very hard and complex to start using them. And I think what we are seeing is pretty much what we saw when mobile devices came around. At first, everyone was like, yeah, my website is fine. And then it wasn't a great experience on mobile. So people started slowly but surely adopting responsive web design. And I think this is the next level of responsive web design, not just responsive to the device form factor, but also to the network that the user is on. And that's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us. And yeah, all right. So with that, we are wrapping up the official part of the meetup pretty much. Thank you so much for Peter to join us. Thanks to all the other speakers who joined us. Thanks to you who joined us here in the meetup stream, or if you're watching the recording, thanks for popping by and checking it out. The next meetup is on the 21st of August. We do have spots available if you want to speak. And if you want, you can join our after party on this URL here. There's a Jitsi instance that works from your browser, should also work from your phone. You can enable your camera. You can disable it. That's fine. You can use your microphone. You can use the chat in that tool. If you want to hang around and talk to all of us who might be joining, then that's the place to go. If not, I wish you a fantastic weekend, a lovely rest of the month, and see you on the 21st of August or in between in the Slack community or on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend and have a good time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.